Well, hello, welcome. I am Patrick Nairn, and it's a pleasure to be here for you today. I want to just quickly share with you some ideas about lighting and just to bring into sort of some context. I use my lighting skills from photography for many years, and I also use my teaching and my what you would refer to as a corporate trainer skills to help my audience, who are mainly female coaches who want to not only look good and sound great online, but they actually want to sell high ticket offers. And so they are very keen game in terms of the lighting department and also to make sure that they sound great when they're online. And I've been running a series which is all about making this simple, as simple as possible. Simplicity comes some grounding, comes some sort of an understanding about some of the key components of light is so important. But I just want to open up the idea of what makes lighting what it is, really. So we're going to go a little bit today beyond the sight. We're going to look at how lighting is used to shape trust and clarity where online. Now, this isn't just to the live online scenario, it's also applicable to people who want to make their own recordings so that they can create their courses, so that they can create their podcasts, and any kind of intervention you're going to be helping someone to sort of see you, whether live or pre-recorded, skills about how to do this all live. So that light is actually more than what we see with our eyes. A spectrum, and it's what we refer to in physics as electromagnetic wavelengths. And there's a whole host of them. What we see as visible light is like a really tiny section of this huge array of visible light or invisible light, all the way through to like X-rays. These are all a part of a spectrum of light. And even within the visible of light that we need to be really conscious of, and I'm going to expose some of those for you today so that you can be aware of them, so that you can know whether these things that you want that lighting to have for your audience. The thing I want you to sort of, this is happening not only subconsciously, but it's happening at a level of biology that most are completely unaware of. It's senses. And so what we've talked about so far in this series, we've covered a couple of principles, and the principle which for many of my clients who want to speak in audiences where they're speaking to corporate sort of companies, bigger companies than themselves. The first principle is all about identity and alignment. Business and of your proposal aligned with theirs. And the second that we talked about was the role that light plays in what we call the visual identity. And now this is a long word for saying, look, sort of cultural standards in our business, and this is what we expect to see, and this is what we expect to partner with. So do you line up? The next principle is really what we're talking about today, the light beyond the visible spectrum. And it's both light within and without the visible spectrum. But here we're going to talk for many of us when they're on a laptop. And I want to just remind you of the context. This is for to their audience in a live online environment. The fact that many monitors today, they emit something called blue light. At the moment to bring awareness to the impact. Talk about that a little bit later, but I just want to highlight that as to put the context around why this is all important. The audience is important because it can affect both the health of your audience and the mood of people who might not have the level of understanding of how the different types of light and the different waves impact human beings. Just be aware that we have if you go to the dentist or the hospital, we use X-rays are capable of penetrating into the human body and expose, like taking a photograph of the inside of our body, are healthy or not. So it's important to understand that light has incredible power in it, and so we need to, even if we don't understand the science, which are really important for us, make sure that we're using the right type of lighting when we are speaking to our audience. So let's talk about the blue light, and I'm just isolating these. I mean, there's so many things I could talk about, but remember, we've only got so much time, and I just want to highlight the context for you. So what does blue light concern? A lot of study and a lot of focus going on in this area, so there's still more. One of the things that we have seen that blue light can be measured to impact eye discomfort. So we are encouraging you that if you sit at a monitor for health and safety reasons, to look away or to wear what we call blue light blocking lenses. So even if you don't have any need for glasses, wearing something in front of your eyes that can block the blue light is also impacts our sleep, and it's something. So if we want for our audience to be alert and really active and energized, then yeah, blue light is something that will actually help with that, particularly if it's been a long day for them. But it does have some suppressing qualities for, and some of these are very important aspects of our help us to stay healthy and happy. And so there's also some potential retinal damage over long term, and that, as I mentioned, can increase alertness, but there are some concerns later on in the day when people really want to go to sleep. They can't get to sleep because of what we call doom scrolling. So just be aware that excessive amounts of blue light won't be helpful to your audience that is actually presenting to them. So be conscious. Okay, let's get on to warm light for a second. So notice I didn't say red light, I'm saying warm light. So warm light corresponds to of the visual spectrum, which is where we see things like this. The color of the sun is on the warmer side, and the sun also produces this. This is a lot of different spectra of light. Oranges, and these actually relaxation and calmness, and calmness is required for trust, by the way, just to let you know. So if you want your audience to stay really high alert and right, but at some point you might want to switch to a warmer so that they can now relax a little bit. And it does actually will help you to sleep. Yes, during your presentation you don't want people to fall asleep, but it is an important part to connect with our audience. Now, how do I use yellow light, red light, orange light? Is that usually behind me I will have the light coming from behind me, which is a bit warmer of my jacket that I'm wearing. And I'm deliberately working without that today because that warmer light can impact you as a person viewing. It does actually the stress and calmness is promoted in the human nervous system, and it can actually sort of alertness and may not be the best when focus is within your lighting to help your audience. By having a light behind me which I can control to great effect when I'm doing longer presentations. For a short presentation like this, it's hardly going to make a lot of difference to my audience. Watching you during a live and an interactive session, well, guess what? This matters. You know, this is important. This is something that we need to pay attention to, because we might be thinking, oh, light, it doesn't matter. Well, actually it does. And this is scientifically proven, where people can actually go through tests and sit in front and we can notice the impact that it has on them, and they can also register the impact that it has. Back a little bit, there was a time, and when God said, let there be this wide range of spectra of light created, and it doesn't just encompass the visible light that we see, it's all the different lights that we can see. So just become aware that there is this vast array of light. Some of it may be impacting us unawares. And I'm going to talk about some. I just want to quickly get you back into the principles that we were. So let's talk about the fourth principle, which is light as a metaphor for clarity. And I'm telling you all along that light can be used for different things, but it can also be used as a metaphor, as almost like an actor beside you. And if you think about all the movies that you've seen over the years, there are green tint in the movie. Some have had red tints in the movie, particularly movies that we see of the planet Mars. There are some great films about the planet Mars, and they usually try to add like this redness in there because Mars is known as the red planet. But when we say about light, let there be light, why do we need light? Well, light is really moving us from darkness, which is often associated with ignorance, into light, which is associated with us. It's that transition that we make with our audience, and the can aid that, or it can hold that back, because we have people thinking too much about the lighting and all having on them without us being aware. We are challenging them. Challenging our audience to think about things we didn't intend to. And so adding lots of deep shadows can create this, what we call suspicion light. If you go back to movies, horror movies in particular, there's always, this kind of foreboding light. Whereas when we get lighting in a more neutral fashion, before in some of my other presentations, is that you just have to look at what's been used in the news and the media of news industries for many, many years now. They try to go for a neutral, flattering light, and that kind of light is closely mimicking daylight, because what we see in daylight, amazing number of benefits, including vitamin. And it's important for us to kind of like see people possible to daylight, because it relaxes us. It gives us a full spectrum of light, a healthy light, and it helps us to just relax. And also it's from a subconscious point of view. People have been sort of different programs that some types of lighting create trust, some create distrust. And this has heavily been promoted and sort of ingrained, but mainly by films. Films are the ones where we get all this dramatic lighting. Generally, television type programming tends to be a little bit more relaxed in terms of the type of light that they use. So now we're going to kind of roll towards a close for this session, and I'm going to talk about Principle 5. Principle 5 is sort of like a direct lead in from what I was just talking about, film and practical role of light in. Now, I studied this quite a lot when I was on my photography degree program, learning about photography, learning about how photography has changed over the years, and also learning about film. We did a lot of incorporation of film and a thing called multimedia coming about, which was the internet, and a lot of things coming around to do with animation. So a lot of areas of arts were being introduced into what I was studying, because photography was in the midst of a lot of change, and a lot of things were happening in the culture around photography. And so if very beginning, well, what do we have in terms of visual communication? Well, we go back to the very in this cave paintings. Okay, well, they needed light to paint cave paintings. And then we go onwards of tablets and people creating things in tablets, people come to stone, and then we come all the way up to where we can look at today. Some of the periods of painting and fine art during the 1400s, 1500s, we come something called a photograph, and then they use light to create a painting with light. And I'm really excited to hear that. And I don't know if you're not so into photography, that might not mean, but the core idea of photography and video is that we're painting light, because these came out of and after the period. And so when we think about came out, the Lumiere brothers creating films and because they thought this was just so photo real and so much like life that they ran out of, they were called back then. But the idea was that they used very basic daylight. So if you go back and you look at most of the were shot out in the early time of what we call film or video, they were shot with natural light. Point, well, there just hadn't been enough electric light available all over the world for them to be able to use these lights that we have today. And then finally, when they got lighting, it was all single color bits. They were using what we call a filament, or what we call incandescent. People use for a time. Now, each of these different types of light, including halogen, they all have what we call a limited color spectrum. But they have some aspects of lighting are really good, sort of gaps in the lighting spectrum. So fluorescent, for instance, if you were fluorescent lights buzzing above your head, and most of what I saw were greenish tinges, but there were also some sort of fluorescent lights, and they weren't a lot of fun because they, first of all, the starters in them created this constant buzzing to be learning in. But there were limited color applications as well. So if you took pictures in fluorescent light, they would come out with this greenish tinge, whereas if you took them in what we would call the filament or incandescent light, then they would come out with a warmer. So we come now to a point in history today. I'm thinking, Patrick, why am I how lighting has impacted people, so that you are making choices around lighting that are informed. This is really what, as George Santayana said, that people who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So it's important for us to know some of the history so that we don't make the mistakes that people. So with these lights that I've mentioned before, they had limited. It wasn't just even across of the visible spectrum. There were dips and peaks. So colors are missing or muted. Today we have, for most people, a form of lighting, which is what we call LED, light emitting. And when they are grouped together in a single cluster, we call them a COB, a chip on board. And these are really powerful visible lights so that we can see. And so what I encourage you to do is to get lights that are of that you can get everywhere, because they not give you the high quality results that you're looking for. Yes, you can use them. LEDs, you can stitch them together, solder them up onto a board and get your own lighting. Yes, that's all possible, but they won't necessarily to accurate color index. And I'm not going to go into that today, but that's really important. They're going to have some colors looking great and other, or they're not going to look right. And you will have a difficult time getting those light looks like a good video, good picture, good live. Impact on your audience, the mood, the way that they impacted by the way they see the colors, and when they are having to work too hard, or if your light is pushing out, you can see what's going to happen to your audience. And so the good thing to think about, and this is why I say to people who specifically are looking to sell at a high ticket level of offer, get the best quality of lighting that you can get, because you're not going to fall into this cycle of lights that produce all kinds of weird colors and that your audience notice when they're watching you, when they're interacting with you. There's some current that is at the subconscious level, at the level of the senses, that we put into words when we're not in this industry, but it has so much of an impact. It will improve your communication. Lighting which will remove the ambiguity of colors. Get lighting that will really and show the expressions that you want to pass on to your texture of the colors or the material. It shows a lot of different props, and you want people to with great lighting which works in sympathy nervous system. That's really what I wanted to share with you, that lighting, not only is it part of the electromagnetic spectrum, but we don't types of lighting have a profound effect on our senses as human beings. We'll leave them with a more positive experience than others. Quality lighting which allows us to choose the right colors so that they show and understand this, than it is to go through the process that I went to deliver what you want and having to either. I'm trying to help you not go through that learning. It helps you to build trust and connection with quickly about what I can do to help up, which is now next week, Tuesday. It's the 19th of May, and I'm going to put a link somewhere on the page with this live that I'm running right now, and you'll be able to jump into this event. It's limited to 100 people because we want to make sure that the number of people who are there, we can actually give that person an opportunity to speak directly to, just to get through a number of people to answer their questions. So we've limited the numbers. And again, in order to learn more about the guest speaker, I'm going to encourage you to go to the page, have a look, and learn more about that speaker who's going to help you to focus on the other side of this program. Speak a lot about the lighting, about presentation tools and techniques, how effective. But you still need to be able to speak with clarity, conviction, and power in order to and generate and create that authority that belongs to you by right. To get yourself in that place, you will be able to have impact when you marry together the visual, the audio, and the impact. Help you to do. So go ahead, click, jump in, and like, subscribe, do all the things that for you to make sure that you get notified whenever I go live, because I'd love to make sure that you gain the continuity, because this is a sequence of information, so that when you come to the event, you're ready, you know what's going on, you understand the context, and therefore you can really get the most out and all of the tools and techniques that I'll be teaching at the event. Always, I'm really glad that you have given the time whether you attend live or whether you attend after the fact when you're watching a recording, that you come to this page to see what's going on, to see if you're a coach who really wants to take things to the next level, how you can achieve that. And I'm really grateful. There's so many things you could be doing. The one thing that you never get back is time. And to spend some time with me, I'm truly grateful. So thank you for coming. And I leave you with peace. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And I'll see you